we move over here to the Mariners side of things, where, as I mentioned last week, I recorded that episode on Sunday night, so we didn't get the Monday game that the Mariners played to wrap up spring training, and we'll go over that here. March 27th versus the San Diego Padres was a 4-2 loss. Our player of the game, second baseman Colton Wong, 1 hit, 1 RBI. It was a nice crowd there for that last game of spring training. Nice crowd at the Peoria Sports Complex, a nice Arizona day. Again, still weirdly chilly this spring, but it was nice to see that. The guys were the starters really played a few innings and then they were out of there. And then the Mariners team plane left about an hour after that game had ended. So they got done with that game. They got into the facility where a ton of stuff had already been packed up and loaded onto trucks and the plane, and they got the hell out of there. So there was that. Liv and I left Arizona on the 28th. On the 29th, the Mariners held their Diamond Derby and Skills Showcase. That was kind of fun to see. It was essentially like a workout that took place, and that the fans were able to bear witness to. I mean, they did have sort of a home run derby kind of thing. There were a couple other um, activities that they had them do, like a bunt competition. If you've ever played Top Golf, there was like it was the names. The name of the event was called Fungo Golf, where they had the coaches of the Mariners try and get a ball as close as they could to certain targets in left field. So we've got that. Myself and Matthew Bermudez were there, and we have a little short sort of video from that event for you here. It is processing. There it goes. That will show you, so you get a little bit of a better idea. I'm trying to explain it, but we'll show that to you here instead.
Charles Hammaker here with Circling Seattle Sports and Converge Media. Myself, as well as members of our team, are here at T-Mobile Park. We've got a little bit of a fun day here right before opening day. The Mariners are going to do a little bit of a workout here in about 3 minutes, and then they're going to have some fun activities for the fans here. Ichiro's down the line there signing some autographs, so it should be a lot of fun ahead of a really exciting season following the Mariners breaking their 20-plus playoff drought. Charles Hammaker here with Circling Seattle Sports and Converge Media here at the Diamond Derby and Skills Challenge. I believe it's the first time that the Mariners have hosted this event. We're a day before opening day. Another big season on the horizon here for our Mariners. Jared Kelly just wrapped up launching some mammoth homers. Hopefully looking to see that during the course of the season. It should be another exciting year for the team as well as our coverage of the team. So make sure that you're tuned in with us all season long as we hope for another playoff berth.
So you get a little bit of an idea of what took place there. Again, it was essentially a workout that the fans could pay $10 on a Wednesday afternoon and get into. I hope that they continue something like that. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for FanFest to return. I don't know if that's what's replacing FanFest. I believe, as I mentioned, I believe it was, and I think it for sure was the first time that the Mariners have held that sort of event. There were some things to work on, but I hope that they continue that. Again, $10 to get in, and just improve upon it. But it was a nice little event to have prior to opening day. Now we'll get into the actual games themselves here. Beginning on March 30th, opening day versus the Cleveland Guardians. Lots of festivities, lots of fanfare. Our Mariners would win that game 3-0. Our player of the game, first baseman Ty France, 3 hits, 1 run, 3 RBIs, a go-ahead 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning would give the Mariners a lead, and then ultimately Andres Munoz would come in at the top of the 9th, lock that game down. France's 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th broke a 30-inning scoreless drought for the Mariners since the last time they were at T-Mobile Park, which goes back to that 18-inning game against the Astros in the third game of the ALDS, which isn't ideal, but it was nice to see them break that. This is also where I show the photos from these games, and I want to make sure I did that. that game, the last spring training game against the Padres. I'll show that. This photo from Liv here. You've got Eugenio Suarez in the front, out of focus here. Excuse me, because we've got former Mariner Nelson Cruz in the background laughing and trying to joke with Gino while he's at the plate. So it's always cool to see Nelson around. Just a great guy, really respected veteran around the league. And you've obviously got him messing with Gino here, which was a lot of fun. So that was a favorite photo of mine from that day. And then with opening day here, this one kind of told the story for me. We've got the fans in the background, with this new pitch clock. It's huge. It's out in center field, at least the one that the batter can see. And the fans throughout the course of this homestand have been counting down when a Cleveland pitcher has been on the mound. And that was showcased here against James Karinchak of the Guardians, who eventually gave up the 3-run homer to Ty France. You watched JP Crawford. He hit Colton Wong with the pitch. And then give up the homer to France. And it was really fun to see. You've got them ticking down. They did the same thing yesterday, which was Sunday. So no, it was a lot of fun to see that take place. And it was really the ballpark really got loud. And I thought that kind of helped tell the story of that game, really, because it was a tight game. It was a great pitching matchup between Luis Castillo and Shane Bieber. Neither team able to get runs until that bottom of the 8th inning. So that was a lot of fun to see. We go here, back here. As I mentioned, Luis Castillo's name, he was our second player of the game from opening day. 6 innings pitched, only 1 hit allowed. It actually came off of the side of his head and his hair. He ultimately was fine and is able to stay in the game. Didn't allow another hits after that, and he struck out the side after that. So, and he also had 6 strikeouts on opening day as well. March 31st versus the Guardians, things did not continue positively in terms of the result. The Mariners would lose that one 9-4. Robbie Ray struggled. He would end up getting put on the IL. Well, I'm skipping ahead here to injury news, but Robbie Ray would struggle in that one. And the Mariners defensively struggled as well, which isn't something that's been characteristic of them. Last year and the last few years, they've been really solid defensively, and their pitching's been really good. And neither of those things went their way in this game against Cleveland. Our player of the game, center fielder Julio Rodriguez, 2 hits, 1 run, and 1 RBI on that day. It was also Julio bobblehead night, and Julio had 2 singles in that there, so he did his part. The only problem is with the 2 singles that he hit, they were 2 of the 3 hits that the Mariners recorded that day, so it's not ideal for the rest of the lineup. On the 1st of April, our Mariners would get shut out. They would lose that one 2-0 to Cleveland. Tight one. It was a struggle. Logan Gilbert pitched an otherwise solid game. He only allowed the 1 run, gave up a solo homer to Josh Naylor, and 1 run ball. That's not bad whatsoever in today's MLB. The only problem is he didn't get any run support. That was the only blemish on Gilbert's day. Diego Castillo would come in later and give up a solo homer. I believe it was to Andres Jimenez. But the Mariners they got blanked, and they didn't have an answer against Aaron Savali. So no player of the game there. I mean, he gets shut out. If we were to give one just to give one, it would be to Logan Gilbert because, again, a solid start, only 1 run. That's hard to complain about. April 2nd versus the Guardians, a 6-5 loss in 10 innings. Our player of the game, third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, 2 hits, 2 runs, and an RBI. Another tough one. I mean, the Mariners bats were excuse me, were awake from the bottom of the first when Julio Rodriguez hit a solo homer to lead off, his 7th leadoff homer in his career, making him second on the Mariners' all-time list of leadoff homers in a career, trailing only Ichiro with 37. So Julio's got a ways to go to catch up to that. So that they would have that solo homer in the first, but then Marco Gonzalez struggled in the second inning, gave up. He couldn't get out of the inning. He had 2 outs. 2 outs, but he had 2 runners on as well. And Mike Zunino, former Mariner, hit a 2-run homer to left center, and it was a 3-run inning. So Seattle went in the hole there. They were able to match Cleveland, but they weren't able to score any runs after the 6th inning. And ultimately, in the 10th inning, Penn Murphy walked 2 players two batters. My apologies, loading the bases, and then it was tough on Gabe Spire. Gabe Spire came in, and the Mariners actually almost turned a double play to end the inning and get out of the mess. But so let's see how it went. Yes, Cleveland hit a little comebacker to Spire. Spire got the automatic out at home plate, and then Cal Raleigh went to turn a double play and throw it to first, but the ball wasn't able to be picked by Ty France at first, and a run would score. So tough one there. The Mariners weren't able to respond in the bottom of the 10th, and they would lose that one, lose their third straight. We'll go through the photos here. This is from the loss on the first. Oh, wait. We don't have the other photo. Where did it go? Well, that's unfortunate. 3, 3, 4. Well, we're on time crunch, so I got to be careful. On the first here against Cleveland in the shutout, we've got Julio Rodriguez, who kind of sums it up, not looking happy. I understand why he doesn't look happy when they got shut out. This actually by Matthew Bermudez. I apologize. The tag in the top right is wrong again. It's been a very busy start to the year. I apologize. And then we've got this photo from yesterday's game by Brian Saldana, where he captured the broken bat, which was cool to see, of Julio Rodriguez for that one completely splintered. Last two photos were Julio. Talked a lot about Julio. He's ultimately our player of the week as well. He had 3 consecutive multi-hit games, totaling in 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 1 homer, 1 stolen base, and a 3.33 batting average to round out the opening weekend. That photo that you see there with him holding his Silver Slugger and AL Rookie of the Year award are by our photographer, Liv Lyons, as she was there on site for opening day and the game on the 31st, yes, against Cleveland. Tough one there. Julio's going to Julio. It was good to see him start the year off right. I mean, multiple 3 consecutive multi-hit games is great to see. What's not great to see is that injury news that I kind of alluded to and was one of the photos that I was going to use for the 31st, which for some reason didn't show up. On the first, the team had to place left-handed pitcher Robbie Ray on the 15-day injured list with a left flexor strain. As a result, excuse me. As a result, left-handed pitcher Gabe Spire was recalled from AAA Tacoma as a result. So you mentioned you will hear that I mentioned Spire in that game on the second. I hinted to Ray being injured. One of the photos I was going to show was this one actually here that highlighted Ray's tough outing. It was tough. So it's tough. He's been put on the 15-day IL. He did throw a bullpen on the first, and he said he felt good. So I think he's just trying to build that back up. He was present at the game yesterday. Post game, I saw him with, I believe, some family after the game on the field. So, I mean, he seemed in good spirits, which is nice to see. That's probably obviously going to happen when you're around family as well. But, it's tough. There's a lot of criticism of Ray. He pitched well last year after one of the Houston games where he started to make an adjustment. Everyone's going to remember the home run he gave up to Yordan Alvarez in the first game of the ALDS. So, well, that one, and he had a tough outing against Toronto in the second game of the wild card. I just don't think it's fair to blow up. And, to be fair, there's been a lot of criticism from Mariners fans in general, a lot of overreaction. And I get it. There's heightened expectations after you broke your drought last year. But, hey, man, we've got 158 games to play. We're in April. The beginning of April, no less. Please calm the hell down. Like, things are going to get better. Let's just slow things down a little bit, and we'll move on from there. It's going to be fine. I assure you, it's going to be fine. This team last year in June was 10 games under 500, and they ended up making the playoffs. Please calm down. We'll go over the opening day roster here. We had a good idea of it, and we actually had a opening day roster preview in our articles. But we'll go over it. There's not much change. I believe there's only 3 new players on this list, and we've got 2 players that are on the injured list. The pitchers are the same, except for I think Gott's the only new one. Yeah. So Matt Brash, Diego Castillo, Luis Castillo, Matt Festa, Chris Flexen, Marco Gonzalez, Logan Gilbert, Trevor Gott is the new addition to the pitching staff in the bullpen. George Kirby, Andres Munoz, Penn Murphy, Robbie Ray, and Paul Sewald round out the pitchers on the opening day roster, 13 of them. Your starting five in the rotation. I believe we talked about this last week as well, but we'll go over it again. Luis Castillo is your number one. Robbie Ray was your number two. Chris Flexen will take his spot in the rotation now that Robbie Ray is injured. Um, number three was Logan Gilbert. Four, Marco Gonzalez. Five, who's pitching today. And by the time you're watching this, we'll be a few hours away from first pitch, where he'll take the mound. George Kirby rounds out the rotation at five. Some people were wondering, why is Kirby below Gonzalez? That's so he can get the extra day of rest as he can use to acclimate to a bigger workload. Reminder that Kirby really did not pitch that much in AAA. And the catchers, the team is carrying three catchers at the moment. One of them is a little versatile, so doesn't necessarily fit the strict catcher mold. Cooper Hummel, listed as a catcher / outfielder. He can also play first base. Tom Murphy and Cal Raleigh round out your three catchers that are on the roster. There are five infielders. J.P. Crawford at short, Ty France at first. Tommy LaStella can play both corners, usually third base, though. Excuse me. Eugenio Suarez at third and Colton Wong at second base are your five infielders that are on the roster. Four outfielders and one injured list outfielder. Teoscar Hernandez will mainly play in right field. I don't believe he'll play at all in left field. Jared Kelnick, AJ Pollock, Julio Rodriguez, and Taylor Trammell. Trammell is the one on the injured list, him suffering a tough injury right before spring training actually began. I believe it was like a day or two before spring training began. And then they have the infielder / outfielder list is two people, one of them being on the injured list. Number one, Sam Haggerty, and number two, Dylan Moore, who, again, talked about this last week, who Scott Service said should be able to join the team here before mid-April. So that'll be good to see. But you've got a nice talented bench there. I mean, you've got, at least bench-wise, Moore, Haggerty, LaStella, Trammell. So you're going to have options. It's just about getting those guys playing time. And I don't think that should be a big issue, considering that you want to get guys rested and give them off days and just rotate. Obviously, when left-handers are starting on the mound against the Mariners, AJ Pollock will get some time. So, but I'm happy with the opening day lineup. Really, again, they're going to take some time to get acclimated. It's these early months of the season. It's cold. The ball does not travel as well. Teoscar Hernandez will be hitting home runs. I'm sure of it. He's had some really hard hit balls that just die in this air. So, again, I reiterate, please calm down. Excuse me. We go over here to March 1st. The team actually traded for somebody on opening day. No, the day after opening day. I apologize. When the team acquired infielder / outfielder Nick Solak from the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for cash considerations. Solak had actually been placed on waivers the day before. Solak, he was automatically optioned to AAA Tacoma, which fills up the team's 40-man roster. He's a 28-year-old who was, my apologies, designated for assignment by Cincinnati on the 30th. He's appeared in 250 major league games across 4 seasons from 2019 to 2022, all with the Texas Rangers. He has a career batting average of 252 with 117 runs, 35 doubles, 3 triples, 21 homers, 93 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, 74 walks, getting on base at a 3.27 clip, slugging 372 with a 700 OPS. He's appeared defensively at second base, third base, left field, center field, and first base. So I think a lot of it is the Mariners are just taking a flyer on him, truthfully. So, I mean, I'm not going to take too much stock into it, but again, it doesn't hurt to take a flyer on guys. We've seen that work out in the past before. So the Mariners sit at a 1-win, 3-loss record after 4 games and after 1 series. They're at 5th in the AL West. Again, please don't panic. looking ahead, they will wrap up this homestand with 3 games against the Los Angeles Angels tonight, the 3rd at 6:40 p.m., and tomorrow, the 4th at 6:40 p.m., and then April 5th versus the Angels, 1:10 p.m. That is a getaway game. They will fly to Cleveland immediately after that. They get the 6th off in Cleveland. April 7th through 9th is against the Guardians again in Cleveland, as I've said. Goodness, it feels like I've said in Cleveland multiple times. April 7th at Cleveland is a 1:10 p.m. game. April 8th at Cleveland is a 3:10 p.m. game. And April 9th at Cleveland is a 10:40 a.m. game. Those are all in Pacific Standard Time. So we've got some early games there on the 5th and 7th and 9th, and then kind of a middle of the afternoon game there on the 8th.